So I always liked my teachers. But what does that mean? When you're that age, you have to like them. I had to like my teachers. What I'm more interested in is what I found out about children where early life they have a negative experience from a teacher whose behavior and training doesn't seem as competent when they're dealing with a child who's not as obedient. In other words, this child, essentially in terms of dynamics, is interrupting the predator getting what they want from the child. That's what's happening. And how that child, especially if they're male, are going to have a reduced life function. Likely, they're not going to live as long because they're around a female in the early days who finds them or insufficiently obedient. I've seen cases where, a kindergarten teacher was abusing a child because he was smart enough that during story time he didn't want to lie. He wanted to sit under his desk, and that's all he wanted to do. He was happy to sit quietly, listen to the story, which means no fucking things to any fucking intellect in the world. But this woman couldn't handle it. She couldn't fucking handle it, and he became labeled a problem, an undesirable. So other teachers treated him differently because they didn't have the strength to go, some teachers are cunts. I'm going to take him on his own value. Do you know what it's like as an adult when a woman doesn't like you in an institutional setting? Do you know what women can do to you? You know what happens to a man if women don't like you? It's not good. As a 50-year-old man, I can handle myself to a degree, but it takes years sometimes to recover and to right the balance and then to learn. You take challenges, then you learn. You take challenges, you learn. Most of my challenges are dealing with violent white females. They're extremely violent. And, we all have reasons to be angry, but as soon as one white woman doesn't like you, that begins a domino effect in any environment. Because what it usually means is you've interrupted her, or you've interrupted a psycho, male or female, from getting what they want. So when you're getting taught in school, you learn not to interrupt. What happens to people who interrupt their teacher? Well, I got punished for interrupting them. Other children get punished for interrupting. Because, of course, what they have to say is so fucking important, right? That you don't remember any of it. Because everything that comes out of a teacher's mouth is useless. They don't teach anything. I took a geography 11 class. I taught myself geography. I taught myself everything I fucking knew about it. The teacher didn't do anything. Right? They don't do anything. They're welfare bums. They're fat, ugly fucking people. The gym teachers walk around like, hey, look, I can get young people to look up to me. Whoa. Look at my balls. Look at my tits. And if it's not the teachers, if it's not to remove moral agency, it's the environment. It's the society. You know that people have thought about how humans have put thought. They got a dick just and they put thought into ruling over you. You might have some thought to that and the power of that thought because they have to rule you with their thoughts. Can you rule someone with your thoughts? Not just accidental nepotism, not just growing up in a dog-eat-dog world and then ruling over your little fucking classroom somewhere or your job site. I mean ruling the fucking world. That's not God, motherfucker. That's the thought of God. God to mean to you, the way they want the system to mean to you. That compared to the system, you have no will of your own unless you bend it to the will of. Well, in high school, children only get power by bending it to the will of the system, the will of God. That's why everyone in high school ends up getting a job, right? They're helping you. They're making it easier for you, like a horse into a narrow field. They're making you walk the narrow path. The second birth. 91, the legal age of the United States, is your second birth, where you become a complete slave. Because now your conscious will and your volition has been molded in the flow of God's celestial financial universe, which is the world. Hi. Hi, Mom. If you're using this on a news station and I got an Uzi and killed a bunch of people, I'm sorry. Predictive programming. To be fair, I never shot a gun. Well, I think I shot a BB gun once at a firing range. I think it was like cadets or something. I don't like guns. My brother's father-in-law passed away yesterday. My mother's gonna live a long time. She's cool. She's kind of really cool. Part of why I can be well today. Thanks, Mom. Um, she's my only family, my only friend. If I'm making a video and somebody talks to me, they're not my friend. People who know my name. Just because you know my name doesn't mean you're my friend. It means you're a fiend. One day, if I'm in the right situation, I'll talk about, some of the women I've known. I didn't realize that, I had this kind of feud where I had a failure to launch in my 20s. So it was just home and odd jobs, home, no girlfriends, no friends, home. A few friends that I had, kind of what they were doing, which was something I wanted to do. And those were like, everything is kind of disintegrating, but they don't notice that disintegration is the rule. And I'm feeling it with my subconscious that we're living in a disintegrating world. Like, to be someone, but you want to break me down into being that person. The way in evolution, something can lose genetic material and be said to evolve because it became capable of killing. So essentially, cancer is the goal of evolution, right? Cancer is the goal of it. If cancer lives, it's high in the evolutionary chain because it can live off of you. It wins. It's stronger than you. Cancer has been invented by God, which incorporates the codependency and the volition that humans supply to living in every respective God, financial culture, or God system of the world for the last 1,000 years. That's where cancer comes from. It's sepsis, living against the sun, living against the flow of life. Now again, if you have cancer, you've been forced to live that way. But as much as you think you have any choice at all, you can choose something else. But in order to choose something else, you have to understand that your volition or choice or consent has been assumed and included into the abuse that you've suffered. So you have to make another choice. You have to acknowledge that you've made some bad choices, even if you didn't really have control of those choices. which means letting in a bit of the knowledge of how oppression has affected you, even the pure, wonderful being that you are. And we want to keep that. We want to find the right environment to be the pure, fucking amazing being that you are. But not every environment is that place, is it? And that's not your fault, but it is up to you to find that place. Because that's the place where you thrive. That's the place where you're the best for your mother, your father, your children, your family. Place, you will naturally do anything to find that place. You'll beat your mother to find that place. You'll beat your children. People that commit violence are trying to find paradise. Right? Not just Muslim terrorists, nothing against Muslim people, because let's face it, that's pretty much made up shit anyway. The terrorist part. Right. But people commit any terrorism to go to paradise, to get home. The soldier out there is killing civilians because he just wants to get done and get fucking home. At the end of the day, that's his only desire. Finish his tour and get fucking home. Right? And he'll do anything to get that. Because he's in a welfare state. Oh, hey, I remember you guys. I remember you. I remember you. Hey,
I still remember you this time. Yeah, I think so too. I'll give you. Hey, that's it.
it's not far. She was.
Happy year, man. Yeah, exactly. Exact same spot.
Wow, it's a pretty good stick.
Yeah.
How far does she like it?
Oh, yeah, I still get it. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, happy year, man. Definitely see you again. Beautiful spot.
Nice up there. Good spot. Yeah, just got here.
Jay, and Landon. I knew it was that unusual name, and yeah. Lucy.
Okay.
Landon, Lucy, Jay. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you too. Yeah. You too. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, you started something. Yeah. I remember Landon. Oh. You're hilarious. Oh, just yeah, she has a lot of energy. So she should go for it. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So you know a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. No, she's amazing. She brings a stick to all the neighbors too. She goes across and brings a stick. And, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I don't mind the pretty easy part.
Yeah.
But I've been getting out here for a few days in a row now. It's,
Yeah.
I saw so much money fiction in that world.
Okay, yeah.
People always try. You have to be good, I think.
Yeah.
They're there. I'm not a fisherman.
Yeah.
I always find anyone who finds it. You have to know the area.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Hey, let's get this thing. I did. Oh, it's all good. Oh, no, it's all good. Yeah, no, it's nice seeing you again. See you next time. Yeah. Yeah. All right, have a good one. Yeah, have a good one.
Okay. There you go. I should probably go. guy I know, Jay. Jay. Um, that man makes me feel way more social than usually. But he really, him and his dog really bring out the best in me. Yeah, very friendly man. Uh, Jay, so just chatting with him. It's so much more wild today than it has been. So good. A little doozy do. Um, yeah, friendly stranger, Jay, with Lucy, the border collie. I was trying to think of the name of the border collie my parents got us when we were young. Ah, uh, Donna. It came to me. I should know this. I gotta tell you, like I was only like 1 or 2 years old. Oh, I almost had, Heidi, Howie, um, Sadie, Sally, Sheba. We had a dog named Sheba. This is Lucy. Anyway, boy. And so I don't really have a lot of recollection, except that my mom tells me that the dog, she had to find his home for the dog because it was too high energy. But really, not really, nothing wrong with the dog. Just, I guess you could say we weren't high energy enough, probably. That usually means that people don't have the time to take care of the dog properly, or they just don't know how. And I just say that from learning, from watching the dog whisper. Yeah, his dog is like a wolf, though. I mean, like I said, your dog likes to teach. Yeah. So he's saying, oh, there we go. So, like, as soon as you start throwing a stick to certain dogs, that's all they're going to want to do. So, it's okay because I'm only going to see her for a couple minutes. a few months, and the last time I saw them was actually at that spot. So, and then after a few minutes talking to him, I thought I better pack up and go. No reason to let myself get too cold. It's not really. I don't think it's going to snow. They say it will. If it snow, it's more than likely to rain. Somebody check this out. Oh. So good human contact. Oh, I think I have. Sometimes I think I have like little missing discs in my emotional mind. Like, I think that, for instance, everybody feels more comfortable in their daily routine. Okay, so granted, so if you've come from a dysfunctional life at all, you might think, oh, you might be the kind of person who's prone to think, gee, what would I do if I was in this situation? What would I do if I was taken away from this? What if this was taken away from me? What if this person died? What if I did this? And people call that worrying, but it's also because, you don't know if you have the right to feel good because you're aware of all the things that can make you feel bad. And you might not even realize it your whole life, how aware you are of all the things that can make you feel bad because of all the things that have made you feel bad. And they just ring your bell. And you don't watch MMA shows about some fighter going, oh yeah, I fight in the greatest titans of the world, but man, I still cry when I think about the death of my mom. Or I think about, my dad beating me. How many men have laid hands on their children? How many women have laid hands on their children? We know scientifically that to hit a child is to damage their brain. Right? We know that. And did you know that all kinds of so-called primitive people have known that for tens of thousands of years, which is why you'll never catch a lot of so-called primitive societies using corporal punishment on their children. Isn't that strange? But you see it all through the white world. Corporal punishment and therapy. Right? Because we're a military type of race. We're supposed to be Roman centurions. Right? Work is war. Right? Mussolini, work is war. That's what Mussolini said. Work is war. And they're even spelled the same way, right? Easy for you. So you know that they're similar. Going to war, going to work, honey. Gonna bring home the bacon, like killing the pigs. I think people that don't understand the violent thoughts that people have about the police every day, and that costume preserves them because they aren't being themselves. Wouldn't you think that all the evil thoughts about the police, that they would just have all kinds of unseemly accidents? I'm always talking about how human thought, right, disintegrating energy for other people. And the fact is, the police do suffer a lot. That's one. And they probably suffer from a lot of the derision that they draw up from, legitimately or not, the people around them. Now we could say, if people hate the police, are they misinformed or poorly educated and or just straight on poor when it comes to what might be difficult for them to understand about the provisions which adult educated people learn to make for the lowered inhibitions of police who need to be given the freedom to do things that you would normally not do unless you were a police officer. Now you take that statement, right, and understand that it's quite an extraordinary thing to say about anybody. If you were making a set of druids or local witches, you would never really, except for the police, as you've been born to understand them, never lived in a world without that, you would never actually deputize any group in the community, your alcoholic neighbors, to become part of an organization that follows those parameters. But you accept it without thought because your inhibitions have been lowered, right? That this is a good thing with the so-called quote-unquote training that they get, right? And their training starts long before they're a police officer. The training starts before their parents were born. Training in oppression and in the rules of the oppressive of man, right? what you need, you want to avoid such cults, is whatever your gender may be, to be around a gender that for you represents the pure, true nature, true nature of that gender. Well, I guess the pure, true nature of that gender. So if you feel like you need a woman's touch, you want a real woman, right? If you want a lesbian, you real woman or a real lesbian. It's not like lesbians aren't women. In fact, they're in many cases the height of women.